Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today I am going to be showing you my most used art supplies, and I'll be starting with the cheapest ones first and then moving on to a more expensive version. So I hope you find this video helpful, and this video is just basically to give you an idea of what I use to create my art and what I recommend. I by no means have tested all art supplies and know the best ones, so this video is just my own opinions on the art supplies I already have, but I hope it gives you some ideas of maybe what you would like to try out next. If you've tried these art supplies out, I would love to know what you create with them. And now let's get into my most used art supplies. So this first watercolor pan was my first ever watercolor set that I got, and it really served me well. I used it so much. I used all the black somehow. I'm not sure how that happened. So all the black is almost gone from this, but it has 36 colors and they're pretty pigmented. I had no complaints with these. I'm not sure about the light fastness rating for these paints. I would not paint commissions or paintings you would want to sell with these, as they probably will fade over time. The next set of paints are my go-to watercolors that I use for enjoyment and painting in my sketchbook. These are Mungoyu paints that I got off of Amazon. I got a smaller set and I really liked how pigmented, how easy they are to activate with water, and they are super pigmented. However, I did look up the light fastness and I discovered that they are in the poor category. So again, probably shouldn't use them for commissions or paintings you want to hang on the wall because they might fade over time. But if you're keeping it in your sketchbook or something like that, then I would recommend these. Like I said, I use them when I'm painting stuff in my sketchbook and I really enjoy them. Next is Winsor & Newton. This is also on the pricier side. However, if you are concerned about light fastness and how long the paint will last before it fades, Winsor & Newton rates their paints, and the rating is on the side in letters. So all you need to do is look it up and you'll get the information that you need. Next is this set of gouache, the Jelly Cup gouache set or the Himi gouache set, whatever you want to call it. I got this when I first wanted to get into painting with gouache, and I totally recommend this gouache if you have never painted with this before. It's super affordable. It comes with a lot of paint. I'd recommend buying more white paint because I've run out of the Himi white, but I totally recommend this if you're getting started. You want to try it out before investing in more expensive gouache. Next, here is the more quality, expensive gouache. It is a little bit of an investment, but it is so worth it, and I love the quality of it. And one of the reasons why I bought it was because I love the packaging. There's no wastage because there's no little tubes I have to squeeze gouache out. It's super pigmented. It goes a long way. Like, this set will probably last me years. And it is my go-to gouache to use nowadays.
This was used with the Knicker Poster Color gouache. But the only drawback to this is, for some reason, the paint, after it's dry, transfers to the page over. So as it's been sitting like this, for some reason the paint has transferred over, and it was completely dry when I closed it and everything, but for some reason this happens. as you can see. So that's one thing to consider if you're painting with this gouache. One way I tried to get it off was to use an eraser, and that did seem to work. But it kind of just comes back after a while, so, and it doesn't, I mean, it took some of it off, but it hasn't taken all of it off. So that's one downside I didn't know about. So like you can see here, it transferred little, you can see marks from these two paintings here. So not sure why that happens, but, and then with this one, it seems like if you use a lot of the gouache, then that's when it transfers, because this is like a couple layers of the gouache used thinly for this tea kettle, and I don't see any transfer onto this page. So yeah, just something I wanted to mention.
And that is the only drawback I have to this gouache. But overall, it's not a deal breaker. Alrighty, next we will be talking about sketchbooks. And as you can see, I have used a fair amount of sketchbooks in my journey in art. So the first one is by Strathmore, and I had 3 sketchbooks that I completed from that brand. So the very first watercolor sketchbook I had was from them in a landscape size, which was way smaller than this. And then I decided to try a bigger size from them, and I completed 2 of those sizes. The one drawback I had was that the paper was inconsistent. So on one side it would be smoother, and then on the other side it would be rougher. So it wasn't very consistent. So that's something to be aware of if you're purchasing this sketchbook. But the paper could hold up really well against lots of layers, and it has 48 pages and it's 300 GSM paper. This next sketchbook is by Handbook Journal Co., and it is also a watercolor sketchbook. This one is 300 GSM, and this is my most recently finished sketchbook. I have filled 2 sketchbooks, this one and another one that was square and only 200 GSM, but by the same brand. I do recommend this sketchbook GSM also has laid flat a heavier paperweight, and it can hold up. That was really nice to have. And the paper quality is really good. I could put 2 paintings on either side of a page, and there was hardly any buckling or rippling of the paper, which usually happens if there's too much paint or liquid in the paper, which isn't a bad thing, but it all depends on what you want. The next sketchbook that I am using currently is by the brand that I'm listing on the screen because I can't pronounce it. But I got it at my local art store, and for some reason I can't find the square one online, but I will link a similar one down below by the same brand. It'll probably just be in a different size, but the quality of the paper is really good. It's only 200 GSM paper, and I can layer stuff on it. I can paint on both sides. You can really get the use out of the sketchbook. And also, all of these sketchbooks are cold press watercolor paper, and this sketchbook has the smoothest paper out of all of them, if that's something you're looking for. If you want something with more texture, I would recommend the Handbook and Journal Co. sketchbook. And sneak peek, this is going to be a video coming up, so stay tuned. Alright, now we're moving on to paper. And One paper I would recommend is the Strathmore. It is on the cheaper side and it's 300 GSM, 8x10 size. It is cold press, but I wanted to mention that it is on the smoother side. So if you want more of a textured watercolor paper, you will want to look into the paper I am recommending next. So this paper I was gifted, but from what I've used from it so far, I've really enjoyed. If you want a really nice, rough, textured watercolor paper, I would recommend this brand. And I will link all of these products down below. This is not sponsored or anything. It's just what I have been using and some of my thoughts on the products. And I thought it would be a fun video to share. Next is Artsy watercolor paper. This is a staple. Many artists use this. I'm sure if you use watercolor paper, you already know about this brand. It is pretty expensive, but the quality is so worth it. And if you want more information on papers and stuff, there's lots of videos online you could go search up. I'm not very knowledgeable on many watercolor papers, but this is just some that I have been using. Next are brushes. This brush that I'm showing you now is a staple that I use every time I paint. It is a round brush in the size 4 and it's by Princeton. It is super affordable and I would totally recommend this brand. It holds very well and I've been using it probably for almost a year now. This next brush is a round synthetic brush. You can find it anywhere in your local art store, I'm sure. And I use the size 6, I believe, and 10. Those are my main brush sizes I use. And then sometimes I use flat brushes as well, but I mainly use round brushes. And that is all the art supplies I have been using lately and art supplies that I have used in the past that have helped me in finding the brands I really enjoy now. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found some good information. Maybe you're just interested in knowing what I use. Please let me know how you enjoyed it. And I will see you again in my next video, everyone.